Hello, everyone. Welcome to New Business. I'm your host, Jill Thomas. This show is about helping business owners create success faster and more easily than they thought possible. I firmly believe this is the age of the entrepreneur, and I think everybody either needs a side hustle or a main hustle, but they need to disconnect themselves from the idea that someone else is paying their rent, someone who's your boss who could fire you. It's so much better when you own your own business if you can fire yourself. This week, I am super excited to announce that my guest is JC, Jerry Carpenter, and he has been a cobbler since 1991. He lucked out in his profession and loves every second of it. Honestly, I've just got to say, JC, usually when I ask people for an introduction, I get like a whole resume and I have to say, hey guys, nobody's going to listen if we go 3 pages. But in your case, that's all I got. And I love it because it's so concise and it really tells people what they need to know, that you do something that you love, you feel like you lucked out, you love every second of it. I absolutely love that. So welcome, Jerry. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Wow, what more is left to be said after that? You nailed it in a nutshell.
Well, I may have a couple other questions, but we'll have some fun with this. So one thing I want to talk about first, I walked into your business. Your business is in Ashland, Oregon. I walked in and I thought, oh my God, here's a business. This is gonna be like a travel agency. Like this is something that's gone, or the last little remnants. But when I walked in, I was really surprised because I saw things that I didn't know that cobblers did. So why don't you tell us what a cobbler actually does?
Cobbler tears down and rebuilds just about anything, from simple heels on ladies' dress shoes pumps to a complete rebuild on a pair of fire boots that a dog chewed up. We also do straps for Louis Vuitton purses and have a tailor on staff, so we can do just about anything. Just about anything.
See, that was what I was surprised to see. So I walk in, I see all these Louis Vuitton bags, and I thought about how in a tough economic time, because we had a really nasty downturn in 2007, and I firmly believe that we're going to have a really nasty downturn here in a minute. I never thought about your business as being something that would thrive, but you're doing things like repairing expensive handbags, which is an economic downturn type of profession. Would you agree with that?
I would. And not only expensive handbags, but we fix shoes from Walmart. People bring in shoes from Walmart that need to be stitched or repaired. If they can keep them going, keep them going.
I love that because, every once in a while you get, and it is so hard to find a good pair of hiking boots. I firmly believe that you will only ever own one really good pair of hiking boots at a time. And I can totally get the idea of whether they came to Walmart, Target, or anywhere, pay less. If you found one you loved, if there was an ability to repair it, that would just be amazing. And that's what you do.
That's what we do.
There was another thing you did. I want you to talk about a little bit where you were talking about how you help people, putting lifts in shoes. Tell me about that.
We do orthopedic lifts. If a customer has one leg that's shorter than another and they have, they need one shoe that needs to be built up, say 5/8 of an inch or 3/8 of an inch, or the last one I just did was 1 7/8. We have to split the sole, get the measurements, put the build up on, taper it properly, roll the toe, put the new sole back over the top, and get it out the door. And it makes a world of difference in many people's lives. You can do as minimal as a 1/8 inch lift for somebody, and it'll make a complete difference on how their walk is and how their hips feel and how their back feels. And it just makes me feel good that when I get done with something like that, it actually makes a difference in a person's life.
I love it. I love it. It's amazing to me too, because what you're describing sounds like a trip to the chiropractor, only it probably saves 100 trips to the chiropractor. Am I correct?
Yeah, well, getting the body in alignment is the key thing. And if one leg is, shorter than the other and you're walking around all the time like that, it will throw your entire body off, which will make you have to go to the doctor or chiropractor more often.
Yeah, I've had a lot of experience with that one personally. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this is a profession I don't know much about, so forgive my ignorance, but I would love if you could tell people, how do you get into this profession? What kind of training is involved? How does that work?
Well, for me, I met a girl. I just met a girl. and her dad happened to be a cobbler. And I was actually traveling around the country climbing microwave towers, changing the bulbs and doing the maintenance work on the larger microwave towers. And I had been doing that for a couple of years when I met this girl. And we saw each other for a little while, you know, when I'd be in town, and she got tired of that after about 6 months, and she put me to work for her dad. And it, you know, it took a number of years to learn the profession, and it's pretty intense. There's a lot of things that you have to really focus on, but I tell you, I've never worked a day in my life since I've taken this job. I absolutely have loved every single second of it. It's fantastic. I love tearing things apart and rebuilding them.
It's so cool because that's
how I got into it. Now,
I tell people I work in the. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. I tell people I work in the habits and human nature business. So all day long, I hear people talking to me about how much they hate their jobs. So to hear somebody say that they found something they love, that just makes me so excited. So tell me more about that.
Oh, it's incredible. And I'm hoping to help pass that on. I've got an intern that comes in a few days a week, and he really seems to enjoy doing this work, and he wants to learn. And it takes dedication and time, and he's really excited about it, which is really cool, because to find somebody else that's as excited as I am about this is rare. And then I have my apprentice, Ryan. He's also a tailor by trade, a very talented tailor by trade. He's learning the cobblery profession too, and he's as excited. So I've been very blessed out here, and it's rare that you find one, much less two people that are willing to put in the time and the effort.
Wow. So is this something that there is a school for, or do you basically just have to intern?
There is a school in Germany, but you have to know the German language to go to that school, and it's quite expensive. And then there are smaller schools around the United States. I'm not quite sure exactly where all of them are. I know there's one in Atlanta. I believe they charge around $12,000 for their 2-year course in leather work and cobblery work. I can't quote me exact on that, but it's pretty close to that, I believe. And so that, if there's an opportunity for somebody to go, it would be one of those little smaller schools that are local.
Price wise, that doesn't sound too bad. I mean, compared to like nursing the school or something, I got $12,000 for 2 years sounds like nothing. But then the way you did it even sounds better, because you got to see, well, because I know from hypnotherapy school, there's what you're told is how it works, and then when you actually start doing it, there's what actually works. Did you feel like that has been your experience with people you've worked with who went to formal training?
I guess in some senses, I have some friends that have gone to the schools and stuff, and they know the math, and they know the math end of it, but they don't have the hands-on experience. So there is a little bit of difference between that. I've never had any formal, training with all the math and all that stuff that people go to school for, but I can do the work. I mean, I can tear it apart and rebuild it like nobody else. So I prefer the hands-on myself than the school training, I suppose. I think it's but I think that's with every profession. So
that's true. I would totally agree. I always kind of feel like a combination of the two is really helpful, but it sounds like in your case you had sort of almost an intuitive feel for the mechanics of the shoe. Would you agree?
Well, I would, and it's crazy that you say that, because after I became a cobbler and got into it, I found out that my family goes back 5 generations into Scotland for cobblery work, and I had no idea until I got into the profession. And so maybe it does come natural to me genetically.
Well, there you go. You channeled your dead great grandfather, and they helped you with the leather work. I love that.
Sure.
That's really awesome. So one of the things I experienced when I went into your shop, and I'm so glad I got to see that, is how much of a counselor you kind of are. Tell me how much of this business really is making friends with people, listening to what they need, and sort of the intuitive connection you have with your customers. Tell us about that.
It's the entire business. Every time somebody comes in the door, they need laces. They don't know what length of laces they need, so I have to pull their laces out and measure their laces and get them laces. Or if they need insoles in their shoes, or if they need cleaners for their shoes. The people are always asking for advice on what they should use and what products that they should have, or even what kind of quality brand products to wear on their feet, what shoes to wear. Now, there's so many these days, it's hard to tell them that because there's so many different styles from so many different brands. But it's pretty cool that people come in and they look to you for the knowledge to do these things. And, it makes you feel important.
You know, I love what you just said. Can you tell me, because I have to admit to being nosy and curious, what brands do you like for shoes? So how do you feel about like New Balance? I'm talking about the ones I, of course, buy.
I like New Balance. I like Merrell's.
Ooh,
I like New Balance. I like Merrell's. I like Tevas. I like UFOs for sandals. UFOs are incredible. They're like little steroid marshmallows. They're really cool, man. They fit on your feet and just are really great. But for a work boot, Red Wings, Timberlands, Whites, those types, heavy duty stuff, especially out here in the Pacific Midwest. These guys get out here into these woods and they're working hard and they need a good hardy boot.
And those can be repaired, sounds like, because I mean, obviously
they can. I do a lot of them. They actually destroy my back because they're so well built, and I have, in tearing them apart and rebuild them, it takes a lot out of me. And so they're, you can always tell how well built something is by how difficult it is to take apart.
I love that. That is very cool. One of the other things I like about your business is you do quite a bit of charity work. So tell me about the unusual charity work that you do within your business.
Honestly, I really don't do much of it. It's the community itself that has really done this. We have a shoebox out front. It's for the homeless and those in need. We started it up right after the Almena fires, and it was to help people out that were struggling through the fires and stuff. And we started with just a couple of pair of shoes we put outside, and we got a box out there, and it's called Spare a Pair, Leave a Pair, Need a Pair, Take a Pair. And I haven't kept exact numbers, but we're getting pretty close to about 8,000 pair that we have recycled out of that box into the community. And it's been fantastic. Our entire neighborhood, all of Jackson County, it feels like, has turned out and has showed up and put shoes out here. And it's on a daily basis, there's 50 pair of shoes lined up out front for people to pick through and get what they need. And it's just really incredible.
I love that. For those of you who don't know, the Alameda fire in Jackson County, Oregon, burned down an entire city. Some of you have seen it on the news. You may have remembered seeing basically an entire mobile home park full of people, many of which did not have insurance. It was gone. I mean, it's just gone. The whole town was gone. I've never seen anything like it driving through it. It was pretty traumatic for the entire. Go ahead.
I moved here 2 days after that fire. I moved here and bought this shop 2 days after that fire.
Bet it was hard to get a rental right in that time period. That was hard to watch on TV. Yeah.
It still is. The problem is still pretty prevalent out here, finding affordable housing for people. There's a lot of homeless in this community, but there's still a lot of people that are homeless because of those fires. Mm-hmm. And they're trying, but it's difficult in this community, with the limited housing that's here.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I lived in a place where we had a lot of fires too and lost a lot of houses, but nothing in comparison to the percentage of homes that were burned up. And the ones that were burned up a lot of them were lower income type residences. So that really devastated a community that didn't have as much resources in the first place. Well, let's move on from that. One thing I wanted to ask you though is, how has your charitable work been received by the community?
It's been, 8,000 pair of shoes in 3 years. That's a pretty good disclaimer. It says I've only had 2 people that have negatively reacted to it, and I think they're the same people that complain about the deer in Ashland. So I'm not real worried about them. We try to meet that attitude with kindness and love, and spread it back, and hopefully eventually they'll see that.
Love it. I ask about how things have been received because I'm always surprised when organizations tell me about charitable work that they do, and then to find that there's always naysayers within the community are like, don't do that, don't help those people, they don't deserve it, or they're just leeches.
Yeah. No, we've only had 2.
That's had 2. That's fine. Also, Ashland, for those of you who don't know, Ashland, Oregon has like a free-range deer population that is quite large, considering the population of the city is only 20,000, and also there's a lot of turkey. So if you ever come to this area, you really do need to watch when you're driving. There's a lot of deer. So tell me about, you did talk briefly about you had a job before this business. What did you learn from this job that helps you from the job you had, that helped you when you were creating your own business?
Now, could you say that again?
Oh, sorry. I've discovered over the years that a lot of people who have a job before they have a business bring a lot of the things that they've learned, skills, but also getting along with people, those kinds of things into when they put a business together. In your case, if that's not true, if there wasn't anything you learned, you can share that. But just wanted to know if there was anything you learned from your, just over broke, as T. Harv Eker says, you're just over broke before you started your own business. Anything you can share that you brought with you?
I think it's just pretty standard life stuff. Just treat people like you want to be treated. Treat people good and they'll treat you good back. And it goes great for business. When you treat people like they're important, which they are, they will continue to give you their business because they want to be treated that way. So just treat people good. It's pretty simple. I've got an 8th grade education. I'm not a very intelligent person, but I work hard and I treat people good. And because of that, I've been fairly successful with my life.
Interesting.
Doesn't take much more.
I love this because so often I hear from people this idea that they need to go to college and put themselves in stupid amounts of debt in order to work at Starbucks, right? Basically.
Yeah, $70,000 art degree in liberal arts to be a caribou. Yeah. To be a barista at caribou. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. But in your case,
everybody's got to do what they got to do.
I love that you took that sort of, I don't know, natural inclination. But tell me what you think about yourself made it possible for you to own a business with only an 8th grade education.
Hard work and determination. Didn't want to be poor. My dad dropped me off in Florida when I was 13 years old and left me there. And I didn't want to be homeless. So for 2 years, I worked hard. I hitchhiked back up to St. Louis. I lived underneath the bleachers of a ball field for 9 months until I got another little spot to stay at, until I got enough money to get my first apartment. And just never looked back. If you want to do something in your life, you're going to do something in your life.
Wow. So you've been homeless.
I have. I was homeless from 13 to 15. Yes, ma'am.
Wow. So from homeless to a successful entrepreneur, well-respected.
Homeless at 13 to Africa at 53. Yeah.
I love it. That's a great story. Jerry, that's a great story.
Yeah.
What do you think is the difference in mindset between owning a business and having a job? Because I know a lot of people find that transition is really difficult. Did you find that transition difficult?
The difference is a job is 40 hours a week. Owning a business is a lifetime. I'm here 24/7. I'm on call 24/7. I don't get much time off. You're constantly in movement. You don't have time to do a whole lot of other things. So that is a downside. Now there is a plus side to that. I can also take a month off if I want to and go to Africa and backpack. I can also take a month off occasionally and ride cross country on my motorcycle. Now, do I get to do that a lot? No, but it's pretty nice versus being on the clock for somebody else, making a set wage, not knowing, if you're going to move up in the company. There's, I prefer being the owner, but I don't like being the boss, if that makes any sense.
It does. Yeah. No, I do. I understand. I used to joke that my mindset makes me unemployable. my attitude renders me unemployable. Which is, I totally agree with this idea of working all the time. But I'm curious, you said you're on call. What would you be on call for? Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, there's after hours. I've had people call me at 8 o'clock at night, call the shop and say, and the shop number is my cell phone. So they'll call me 8 o'clock at night and say, hey, I have an emergency repair. Are you in town?
Wow.
And I'll say, yeah, if I am, and I'll meet them at the shop and I'll take care of the repair for them. There's just certain situations where people need help like that. And it's happened a few times.
What kind of repairs would be an emergency repair? I'm curious.
Well, Paul and Nancy Pelosi were having dinner at Lark's one afternoon and his heel fell off and they came in and I had to do that for them while they waited. there's been, a lot of situations where like a strap on a bag will come undone and it just needs to be restitched back down. But it's impossible to carry the bag without the strap, so it has to be fixed. So, it's usually nothing really super bad, but important enough that the customer needs it taken care of, and they're usually pretty appreciative of you taking the time to do that for them.
I appreciate. I mean, I can't imagine most people would bother with that, but it sounds like one other thing I'm hearing from you, JC, is that there's a level of respect that you have for your customer that I don't really hear with most people who own businesses. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, no, that's sad. If people don't have respect for their customers, and I mean the utmost respect for their customers, I don't think they're doing their customers justice, and they're not doing themselves justice, and they're not doing their employees justice, because it's all about the customers. If it wasn't for the customers, we wouldn't be here. There's just no other way around it. And my shelves are full. My done shelves are full. My to-do shelves are full. My in-progress shelves are full. People love us because we treat them good.
Wow. If you could go back in time, what would you tell yourself as you started this business? What would you tell yourself, like knowing now what you didn't know then, what would you do differently when you first started your business to create this success even faster?
Get it in writing with my ex-father-in-law.
I love that. Legal. Doesn't it always come down to legal?
That man ripped me off. No matter how much you think you trust somebody, get it in writing.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen. I'm going to have a lawyer on who's going to talk about that, because that is a huge mistake. Big business owners make. Everybody makes that mistake, but I would love to save anybody listening from that particular pain. Make friends with a lawyer. Don't be afraid to pay to have some contracts gone through. Just do it. Trust me, a little bit of money now will save you a lot of money later. So very good. Thank you so much.
$3,000 contract now will save you $100,000 later.
Oh
easily.
God. That's quite a return on investment. I love that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is very, very good advice.
You asked for one thing that I would change, and that's it. That's the only thing.
Well, that's why I asked that question, because people don't know what they don't know. And I love that whole thing that, it's not what you know that gets you, it's what you don't, I'm going to get it wrong. Yeah. Anyway, you guys have already heard this quote.
I know what you understand.
Everybody knows what I talk about.
I know what you're saying. And it's totally, it's not even the person that you don't know. It's somebody that you trust that can do it to you. And that's what hurts the most. That's why you always have to get it in writing.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially business partners too, being careful about having the arrangements set into place. Somebody has to have 51% versus 49. So there's a clear differentiation between who gets the business when it ends, or when the relationship sort of ends. Anyway, I'm not a lawyer, but talk to a lawyer, bottom line, talk to a lawyer.
Talk to a lawyer for sure. Yeah. Make sure.
So what would you tell somebody? We talked a little bit about this in the beginning, but I want to go back to this. What would you tell somebody who is interested in getting into this profession? What do they need to know that they're not going to find in any textbook? What do they need to know?
It's a lot of hard work. I mean, there's a lot to it. I don't know that there's anything in the textbook that's going to be different. I don't know, because I don't read the textbooks. So that's a good question. You got me stymied there. I'm trying to think of an answer, but I've never read any of the textbooks. So I don't know what the difference would be, really. Other than I'm a firm believer in hands-on experience. Learning from a book is fine, but learning by hands-on experience is the best way to do it. And if there's somebody out there that's wanting to get into this profession, go find your local cobbler and talk to them and tell them that this is something that you'd like to do. Maybe they'll be interested in bringing you on. Maybe they won't. Most of the time they will, because most cobblers that I know are at least 1 month out on repairs right now. And the guy in Bend, Oregon is 8 months out on repairs right now.
Wow. Bend's a nice place if somebody wants to move to Bend, Oregon.
There's definitely a call for it here.
I love it. So how do you find your most ideal client? I mean, how do you get the word out? How do they find you?
In this profession, word of mouth.
Really?
Word of mouth is everything in this profession. People, if you make somebody happy, they're going to tell 5 people. If you make somebody mad, they're going to tell 100 people.
That is so
So
true.
word of mouth.
I
Just
hate to say that's so true.
every time. And so it's just, we have Yelp and we have Google and we have Facebook and, and we're pretty much 5 stars across the board on them. I think 4.5 on one of them because I didn't answer my phone when I was in Africa last year. I was on vacation and a lady gave me a 1-star review because I wouldn't answer my phone. But other than that, it's just, word of mouth. And we do a little bit of Facebook advertising, but it's word of mouth. I mean, it's huge. It's been incredible.
And that just takes time. I mean, there's no overnight on that. There's no purchasing and
No.
advertising package for that. Word of mouth. That's awesome.
Word of mouth. Do good quality work, treat people good, and people talk good about you.
What about buying an existing cobblery business? If there's someone like that out there, is that even an option?
There's a couple of groups. This one was an existing cobblery business when I purchased it. It had been here for 105 years. It's the oldest existing business in Ashland now. It's going on 109 years old. And there are a few online that are for sale. You can join groups like SRI. It's called Shoe Repair International. It's on Facebook. And a couple of other groups. If you just keyword, cobblery shops for sale, there'll be probably 24 of them in the United States that'll come up for sale at any given time. So if there's one you're wanting to get into, that's the way to do it. But honestly, I don't recommend the layman person that has never done this to buy a shoe repair business without having any idea what they're doing. It would not end well.
Oh, that's very good advice for any profession. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I think of how many clients I've had over the years who say, oh, I want to start a coffee shop because they go into a coffee shop and they love it. And then when I talk to coffee shop owners, they're like, don't do it. Just tell them they need to work here for a few weeks first so they know what it's like. I love it. So what have you tried? Is there any business things? Because I'm not, part of what I want to do on this show is help save people time and money. Is there anything that you did advertising wise or otherwise that was, cost money and it didn't produce any results? It wasn't good. Anything that you can tell someone that just don't do that. Just don't bother.
I don't think so. I think any type of advertising is good. Billboards, social media advertising is probably your number one thing to do nowadays because everybody is constantly on their phones and their tablets, constantly. So social media is probably more important, and my business could probably be 10 times the size it is if I had more of a social media presence, but I don't want that because I couldn't keep up, and I'm just not a big social media guy. But if people want to really promote a business, their social media would probably be the best way to do it. The cheapest way as well. You get more bang for your buck. You can, on Facebook Marketplace, they have, you can boost your posts. You can centralize your posts. You can target your posts for age groups. There's a lot of different things that you can do on there to really focus your money where you want it to go. So that'd probably be the best thing to do. Social media and radio. Radio is pretty good too.
Really? Radio for Cobbler? Interesting. I never would have thought of that. Tell me about that. Do you have?
Well, I haven't here yet, no. But back in Wisconsin, we ran several radio spots on Clear Channel in the Twin Cities, and it got quite a bit of response for us. Huh. We would notice an uptake in our calls by almost 30% whenever the ads would run on the radio. So it was a pretty good investment for us. It helped build the business.
Interesting. I never would have thought of that. Thank you for sharing this because I never would have thought of that as being an effective marketing tool. But the type of business that you're running is different than perhaps the kind I'm running or some of the other solopreneurs that are on the show. So interesting to hear that was effective for what you're doing. That's interesting. That'll save money over the, what about, tell me about this one. I get coupons. Like, how do you feel about running coupon ads? Does that help?
I've never run a coupon, never done coupons. Don't really have a urge for it. I don't think it's in my business. I don't think it would do a whole lot. I do, run a sale once a year on my Darn Tough socks. Around Christmas time, I run buy 4, get the 5th pair free. But other than that, I don't do any sales or coupons or anything like that. No, I've never done any of that.
Love it. So what's the next big goal for your business, or do you have one? Because it sounds like you've got so much business that you've got as much as you can handle, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty busy right now. I'm working 7 days a week. Next big goal is to get my apprentice trained up to a full cobbler, and then my intern moved up to an apprentice. Those are my next two big goals, and just continue to grow the business. You know, because the more that they know, the more they can do, and the more we can grow the business.
Let me ask: does an intern get paid? I mean, you don't have to tell me about your particular situation.
An intern does not get paid. An intern works for free. They come in, that's part of their learning process. The previous owner actually would charge the interns to work here.
Dang.
He had a couple of guys that came in and worked for him, and he actually charged them. I don't do that, but you know, Nathan comes in and he works, and you know, he loves learning, and it's a good deal for him. So
I get that.
Some people it won't work for. Some people it does.
I imagine too, though, if your interns aren't getting paid, then, and you have a cobblery business, if you're interested in working at one of those businesses, you want to make sure that instead of, you know, being sent out to go get coffee on those kinds of errands, you want to make sure they're actually teaching you something for that not getting paid status.
Yeah, no, we don't send Nathan out for coffee and stuff. He's learning shoe repair. That's the part of the process. We're not one of those where, you know, I don't drink coffee, first of all, but we're not going to take advantage of somebody. We want somebody to learn this profession as quickly as possible so that we can grow and continue to support the community.
Love it, love it, love it. I mean, I could talk with you all day because you're a really interesting guy, and I love your energy, and I love your general respect for humans and kindness towards those in the community that really are less advantaged. But we're going to wrap it up here soon, but I just want to see if there's any final bits of advice that you have for somebody considering this type of business. What would you want them to know about it?
That they need to know about it. I mean, they need to do it before they try to buy it. They need to actually try to learn how to do the repairs before they do it, unless they have somebody lined up that knows already how to do it and they're going to run the company for them. If you don't know what you're doing with this business, you will fail. You just will. There's a lot to it. It's tearing a pair of shoes apart and rebuilding them is not a simple chore, and not just anybody can do it. You have to be trained to do it.
Do you see people getting into the profession who think that just, you know, makes some quick money? Do you see people doing that who aren't properly trained? I'd just be curious.
I have seen it. When I first started in this profession, there was a gentleman that bought the company that I went to work for, and he knew nothing about shoe repair. And he came in, and within a year and a half, he ran it into the ground because he had no idea what he was doing.
Wow.
And he wouldn't let the people that worked for him do the job properly because he thought he knew better. So my advice is to know what you're talking about, or hire the proper people that do know and let them do their jobs.
Wow, that's very sensible advice. I love that. So, Jerry, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, or if they want to find your business, how can they get in touch with you? I'm going to put links to the SRI company you mentioned in the write-up on this, but how can they get in touch with you?
They can call the shop number. It's 541-482-4656. My email is mythreesonsmdj@yahoo.com. And they can just stop into the shop, 27 South 2nd Street, Ashland, Oregon.
Does the shop have a website?
I'm here Tuesday through Friday, 9 to 5, and Saturdays 10 to 4.
Does the shop have a website? I can't remember.
No, we don't have a website, just my email. I have a Facebook site as well. People can look that up. I don't even know the link to it, to be honest with you.
That's okay. I'm the link.
I'm terrible with social media.
In case that phone number flew by too fast, I will put it in the write-up for this. You know, if you click down, you'll find it, and as well as the link for the Shoe Repair International in case you're interested in buying one, and the Facebook, which I will find for you, Jerry. But thank you so much for being on the show. It's amazing to talk to you, and I love to hear about a successful business owner who actually loves what they do, and the respect for the community is just something so beautiful. So thank you so much for giving us your time. We really appreciate your participation, and I'm excited for all of you listening, because this is another idea that you can have about a business you can create, or if you already have a business, maybe Jerry gave you some ideas about how to grow your business. Basically, what I kept hearing was respect your customer, respect the customer. anything that you can do to make this work out faster. Again, I really believe this is the age of the entrepreneur. I want to see you guys all succeed, and I want to see you doing this without having to worry about somebody being able to lay you off. So goodbye to everybody. Thanks so much, Jerry. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode.
Awesome. Thanks for having me as your guest and listening to me ramble. Come see the turtles.